Hello and welcome back, everyone, to week two. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're in week two already of the creative stretch. And we are blown away by what happened in the warm up, by what we're seeing already. Welcome to everyone. If you're just dipping your toes in, we're so excited that you're here joining us. And I'm Dr. Nanette Riordan, and I'm here today with my partner, Andrea Chebalou, and one of our amazing guest artists, Cat Caracelo. And we're super, super excited about the 3 prompts for this week. And I think actually, Kat, why don't we start with you and talk about the going backwards piece?
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Well, one of the things that I think we're all going to experience is when we see a list of 3 values is to recognize immediately there's a resonance with one of them. I mean, it's just the way we are with words, right? And so when I first saw this list, I immediately kind of reversed it out of alphabetical order and felt that compassion for me was the lead. And the reason I felt that primarily was because it's very hard for me and historically to get to commitment and collaboration without compassion. So there is a directional reason, and it's super personal, and that's really what we're looking for in values anyway, is the personal piece.
Yeah. Andrea, how do you define compassion?
You know what? Compassion for me, for the longest time, it was outward. It was always outward focused, having compassion for other people. And most recently, I've been able to flip the switch and look inward and recognize that it starts inwardly. And having compassion for myself is really where it starts, so that I can look at me, I'm tearing up. So that I can have compassion for other people. For the longest time, I really struggled with that exact thing, compassion, because I'm like, don't you know, like, just pull yourself up. I'm one of those, like, put your big girl panties on, just do it. Like, that was how I was raised. And so it was really hard for me to put myself in a position of offering just unmerited, like grace. And grace and compassion to me kind of go hand in hand, but turning it inward really, really, really amped up my ability to turn it outward. It was absolutely vital.
I love that. And Kat, I really loved what you said about without compassion, we can't find our way to commitment and collaboration. And my husband and I were out for our morning walk, and we walk and we talk, and he's talking about changes that he wants to be making in his life, and that he's struggling to commit. And I can sense intuitively that the self-compassion is missing. And so I love what you said and how it ties in with what Andrea said, is that I feel like compassion is that inner well of strength and support. If we're not feeling kind towards ourselves, then we're going to end up giving from an empty well, is how it feels. And then our commitment falters. And then if we're collaborating and we don't have compassion for self and partner, then those collaborations can be sticky wickets, right? And they aren't as much fun along the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting that there is, I agree with you, that stickiness, but compassion really means to have concern, and that outpouring of concern. And I always have to say, for self and others, because like you, so much of that is outward focus. I mean, we grow up being taught to have compassion for others, but we forget about the self. What I love about the word compassion is it literally means with passion. The root of com, like con, Latin root and ancient root, is with. So I remember being with a teacher years ago and hearing her saying, you need to, find that compassion. And I couldn't hear the word come. All I kept hearing was passion. And,
Mm.
it just happened in the room the way I was listening. And it, it, it made me realize that the two were inexorably connected for me. And so I think that's a very interesting, maybe outside of the box way to define compassion for self and others, to have concern for suffering, misfortune, all of the things we think about compassion. And it's with passion that we actually find that.
Mm. That's so true. And that's how it leads in, like you were talking about before, to this commitment. Like, am I committed to
Mhm,
living a life with compassion?
mhm.
Because if I don't have that, if I have no empathy for others, that's another word for compassion, or it's another way to look at compassion. Um, my commitment, who's it to? What's it to?
Mhm.
What does it
And I
mean?
think, sorry, Andrea,
No, go
every
ahead.
one of our conversations also already is cycling back around to being in integrity with ourselves.
Yeah.
And for me, compassion is related, and commitment especially has everything to do with being in integrity with myself. So it's often easier for me personally to commit to others, to commit to external deadlines, and then coming to that place of commitment to my own practices, my daily self-care practices, which creativity is just one of them. But those eating healthy, Andrea said this before, eating healthy, going for walks, nurturing my body as well as my mind and my heart, like all of that takes compassion and then being in integrity with myself. And I would even say that we could look at collaboration with ourselves, right? With every aspect of ourselves, congruence, alignment. We talked about in week 1, alignment, coming back to that sense of alignment. I have to be completely congruent with myself in order to almost pull myself along, right? Like every part of me has to be fully engaged from that space of compassion and commitment to get to, I think, a healthy outcome.
And for me, because I'm a rebel, I will say I heard have to. And so have to is never part of the demands of values for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, values always operate sort of like a pool of source material. They're foundational and they support me, but I get to go to the pool. And one of the things about the values of in other parts of my life, commitment and collaboration, commitment for sure would have felt a little bit, maybe, the word discipline comes up, all kinds of
restriction, like a
all kinds of other
constraint.
things, because I'm a bit of a rebel. So I love inviting myself to the pool of a value to create more connection with it, especially if it's unfamiliar or it feels a little bit strident. And for me, values are always choices. So we're choosing to come into relationship with, and it is a collaboration. Isn't that the language of collaboration, to come into relationship with a common goal? So I love that all of these are intermingling.
Me too, and thank you. So Kat is a longtime mentor, and I love having my language policed, right? Like I don't even hear, how often do we say things like that have to, because I 100% agree our values are by choice, and I choose to be in integrity with these different aspects of myself. It's just a different way of saying it.
What this reminded me of when you were talking, sorry, that's the way my brain works, is I'm like, oh yeah, yes, I absolutely 100% agree. Like flipping the script on myself, when I say have to remind myself, get to, I've said it before, I believe that these core values can be aligned with spiritual principles or character assets. And when I feel like I am finding myself acting out in a way or feeling icky about myself in some way, and I can identify what that is, I can generally find a core value that is the opposite of. So when I just briefly looked up what is the opposite of compassion, it's indifference. If I'm feeling indifferent about something, amp up my compassion, right? When I focus on where can I be compassionate, the indifference will dissipate. What's the opposite of commitment? indecisiveness, disloyalty, falseness, right? If I'm feeling like I'm finding myself in that territory,
Mhm.
amp up this character asset, this idea of commitment. And then collaboration, man, it's hard to say. Of course, compassion, we need that first, but collaboration is really what holds me accountable. It's what has me showing up with others. That's the way I'm defining the word, this collaboration, that I'm not here alone. I don't have, nor am I called to do this alone. I'm in collaboration with spirit, but I'm also in collaboration with others on the same journey. And so when we get to have these conversations, these deep, rich conversations, it's like, yes, 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 yes. Or, I had never thought of it that way. These type of opportunities are so rich and get me out of self, right? Which, if I stay in self bubble, there's not a lot of growth that happens. That collaboration is where the growth happens, where the expansion happens, where that connection happens. Have we done connection yet, or is that coming up?
It's
I think
coming
that's
up.
coming up. Looking forward to that one. But yeah.
I love that you say that collaboration is really relational, because it is so true that, you said opportunity, and I love that, collaborative opportunities. Collaboration feels pretty finite, like very defined, but I love this kind of collaborative relationships, collaborative conversations. How can we stretch meaning from a single word to be more dynamic or more aligned or more perfect for any one of us at any given time? And when it comes to the language of, I always default into language, have to, but I came up with this a long time ago, and I'm sure it comes from somewhere else. You probably all know it, but when you hear yourself saying, I have to, also change the language of the sentence. I have to, I get to, I choose to, and I'm blessed to. And it will alter your own meaning of anything that you think is fixed.
Yeah.
Because we don't mean to fix ourselves. We just do. We're human. So we just go right into the groove, right, of language.
Beautiful. That's so powerful. I think we're going to end with that we choose to, we are blessed to be on this journey together and in collaboration with you, Kat. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.